Because if you're going to lose 25 minutes down the rabbit hole in the blink of an eye, it better be a good experience.
On this episode of the Creators Pod, we discuss the pros and cons of hiring and using VAs to help with repurposing our content for use on all the platforms. We take a little look and ask the question, do vertical videos do anything to move the needle? Plus, Keely gets to put on her lawyer hat for a little bit. Thanks for listening.
Now, this will be really interesting because, mentors that I've had in the past were like, oh, man, you really need a VA. And I'm like, do I, though? A while ago, yeah, he said, you may need a VA because there are certain things that you don't need to do because you need to focus on the creative stuff. The VA can do all of the other mundane things. And I don't know. I've been playing that around in my head. I'm like, yeah, somebody else could be doing this other stuff. But do I really need it, though? Am I organized enough to do that yet? How can I delegate this? These are all the questions that are going around in my head.
You've got to have your own system sorted out, first of all, and have a process that you've got in order with a structure to it, that then you can actually talk someone else through all that, rather than just saying, I need to get this stuff done and hand it to someone else. And then they go off and do it in whatever way they want to do it. You need to have something to instruct people on, basically.
Yeah. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts recently that have been around this topic. So I listen to Full Focus a lot. They've got sort of two branches of their podcast that come out, and they're in a sponsorship arrangement with a VA company, and so they're talking about it a lot, and that's fine. But one of the things that they talk about to actually get into the mindset where you can hire a VA is that you do have to do a task audit. So that means that you start to diarize everything that you're doing in your business practice. So if you do 30 minutes of billing in the morning and accounting work, you got to write that down. You got to write down the time that you spend on the thumbnail. You got to spend the 2 hours that you're into script, preparing your transcript, and you diarize all those things. So you see what you're actually using your time on. And then it's, what do those things cost? And if I could be generating, for example, $150 an hour doing this high level work, but I have this descript work that somebody else could be doing for $30 an hour, then clearly for me to be doing that work is dumb. If that frees up that time for that $150 an hour work. Now, some of us, at least I think, and you can all chime in about this, is we're all at that point where, do we have the $150 an hour work to actually do at this point? Or do we still need to be spending our time doing some of that because we don't have the high billable stuff coming in quite yet? Does that make sense? Am I on drugs?
It does make sense. No, it's fine if that's all you're doing is video stuff. But I have a full-time business that I've been running since 2002 that takes 8 or 10 hours a day every day, and it's what makes the money. So if I'm going to do this extra social stuff, I have to fill those shoes. I can't be doing the video stuff in the middle of the day because the phone's ringing. I need to be selling. I need to be doing revenue stuff, and this content marketing stuff is not revenue specific. Like, I can't make a video and make $1,000, but I can make 5 phone calls and make, who knows how much. So that's where I need to put my time. And it's not $30 an hour. What I'm looking at is going to that online jobs thing that Chris Giles was talking about. It's $3 an hour. I mean, you can pay somebody $400 a month and it changes their life.
I've used that before. Onlinejobs.ph is yeah.
Oh, you have?
I've used that. Yeah.
Why are you not doing it now?
I'm not doing it in my content creation stuff. I've got them doing other stuff for other things that I do. But in the content creation, I just haven't got that workflow yet. That's what I'm looking to do between now and the end of the year, is just get all my systems in place that then I can outsource it. The other thing, to Keely's point, where you're talking about if you can generate more income, then that is obviously right. If you can be making more money doing something else than these lower end tasks, if you like, that you don't make money from, then outsource those. But there's also part of that with me where I'm not necessarily generating money from editing shorts out of my long form videos, but I kind of feel like I still would want to be in control of that creative process. So I know that there are people out there who'll say, oh, you send us all your live videos and we'll pull out stuff. I think, well, that's kind of removing me from the creative process of deciding like what I actually want to be snipping out of this. And especially when I've got guests on, I feel like I want to be a bit more in control of that rather than just leaving it to someone else. So there is a little bit of a balance there between taking stuff on yourself that you still want to have that responsibility for as well.
Well, my position is from the money, just from doing shorts. It's exactly what I'm going to have them do. If they take my 20-minute or a 30-minute show and come up with 50 different 30-second things, I don't have to use them all, and I'm going to let them post on my accounts. And if I don't like them, I don't have to use them. And if
that's true,
and I can art direct it. And I think over time, not even, I mean, maybe 2 or 3 months it would take to get somebody to where they know what we want exactly, to where they're not wasting a lot of time doing all these extra things that we throw away. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. But they've got to have a really, really, really good, excellent grasp of English. They've got to be 100%, like us talking to each other. They've got to be that good. So I can't have it, because they've got to be able to listen to my show on their own, pick stuff out and use it, and then try to figure out from an American standpoint, what do you care about In-N-Out Burger? Why does anybody care about this? But that's pertains to me only. And so I don't know if that would matter to anybody else, but that's kind of where I'm at.
I don't know. I have a theory, and I guess, that's where you vet whoever it is that's going to be doing this type of work for you, right? Because you as a creator, so I mean, I agree with you, Alec. You as a creator, you kind of know how you're curating whatever it is that you're doing. And so, me looking at the same content might say, oh yeah, this is what I was thinking when we were talking about this. And so this is kind of where I want this to go. However, the person who might be, chopping it up or doing all the things might not know kind of what I was thinking about, or what the content or the context of whatever it was I was saying. So it's just a little, I don't know. It's just me. I need to let go. I know I need to let go. I know I have a little bit of a perfection thing, but I'm thinking it'll be hard to do that unless that person knows you that well to say, oh, okay, they can kind of like, be your brain when you're not there, unless you're doing something that's mundane, like, oh, okay, we changed the subject, and they're like, oh, okay, we just changed the subject, so they'll cut there or whatever. But it's just a little different. It's, to me, it'll be a little bit difficult to try to find that person to be able to curate that information that's not you.
Yeah.
But are we being a little bit snowflake about it, though? Just a little bit? Because I'm feeling the same thing. Like, oh, I do field hockey umpiring content, and nobody's going to be able to pick out important things that I say because they don't get it. But are we kind of, I mean, we're trying to produce content for an audience that resonates for an audience. So what we're thinking is important and what we think really goes maybe isn't what the audience really wants to hear. And so as long as someone is remotely understanding of my sport, I think they probably could. If I'm going to be really critical of myself, I think they could probably tell when I'm saying something good and something that's valuable.
They certainly could. It's not that like, oh, they're not capable. And arguably, the people that you can get from onlinejobs.ph and other places like that, they've got degrees in, film and, marketing and all these kind of things. So it's not a case of like, oh, I'm better at doing it. It's just like, that's part of the creative process as well. That like, I kind of enjoy that part of it, I suppose. But definitely, Rich was saying, that they'll get to know your sort of style as well. So,
it's like working in an office with somebody. You don't know each other on day one. Exactly. And then by 6 months into it, everybody knows kind of everybody's thing. So that's kind of where I'm going with it. And I'm not asking them to turn to my bank accounts and do my book work and any of that kind of stuff. This is all fluff. I don't want to say content marketing is unimportant, but it's not going to make or break me. I mean, I'm in charge of posting it. If they generate a whole bunch of crap that I can't use, then we just move on to the next one. And so it's a gamble, but it's not that big of a gamble. I mean,
No.
over 3 months, if I spend $1,200 on a guy and it doesn't work out, or whatever. I mean, I'll be able to know in the first 4 to 6 weeks if this is the right thing or not. So anyway,
so then how do you interview somebody for this?
Zoom calls, you can do whatever you want. I mean, or you can. I guess
I understand. I understand the format of the interview, but I mean, what is it that you're digging into to see if they are the right person? And I think the answer is different for all of us, but it is something to think about. Is don't just set up that Zoom call with this potential hire if you don't have a plan for what we're going to be asking.
Shoot, I should have copied the questions. The guy that runs that site has a video where he goes through 30 questions or so that he sends them over the course of a few emails, because he wants to see, first of all, how fast they respond to emails. So he doesn't ask them all 30 questions in the first one. And they're questions like, where'd you learn English? Did you watch American TV? Was it Sesame Street? Was it in Tagalene or Tagalese or whatever? Or was it English? I mean, those kind of questions. And do you have another job and all that kind of stuff? And it's just basically setting up a conversation and getting into some background. I don't think there's the laws that you can't ask somebody, like in the US, you can't ask certain things of employees, but when you're doing this, I think you can ask them anything you want to, if they have kids and all that kind of stuff. Not that matters to me.
Is that something you can? Yeah. Is that something you can drop into the show notes where that resource exists? Because I think a lot of people would be interested in.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That guy has if you go to, I'll think of the website in a minute, but it's not online. Well, I guess you get to it from that onlinejobs.ph. And then there's a link to his video, and he's got another thing, which is a $49 course on how to use his website. And I thought that was kind of funny. So you give him $50. You give him kind of $50 to figure out how to do it. So
you don't need a course to do it. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what I figured. So, but the only thing and another thing is it's $70 a month, I think, to have because right now I've posted an ad and I've gotten 30 responses, but I can't talk to anybody and I can't say anything about them because I have to pay the $70 a month to be an actual member. So,
interesting.
But again, we'll do it. And we'll see what happens.
What are the tax implications for that?
It's an expense. It's just an expense like buying paper at Staples for me.
Offshore, but it's an offshore hire, right?
No, they're not a 1099. They're not even an employee. I'm just, as far as I know, I'm just paying, like I pay a carpenter to come put a window in the wall over here or something. Yeah. I think that's all it is.
Gotcha.
I don't know I haven't looked at that, but I don't think it is. I don't think it's
they're not classed as it's not like having an employee in the US or wherever you're based.
And it's not even like having a 1099 contractor. It's not even like having you guys don't care about 1099s, but in the US, we have a thing where you pay service people on a 1099 form, so you don't have to pay taxes. But I don't even think this applies to that.
Interesting.
I don't think so, but I haven't.
And of course, we're not giving tax advice here. None of us are financial advisors. So please be sure to check with your own hired financial advisor to give you the appropriate geo-specific tax advice. Thank you very much.
In your own damn country, because we are diversified. We are worldwide over here.
Said like a true lawyer.
No kidding. I forgot about that.
I mean, as soon as this conversation, I'm like, beep, 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 beep. Gotta put a disclaimer in here and that kind of thing. But wow. I mean, this sounds like a neat place that a lot of us could sort of start exploring that, because I think we're all at the point where we know what we want to do with we're very focused on where we'd like to branch out and improve and maybe generate more content, or generate the same amount of content, but free up time so that we can do other income generating activities. And so if there's a place that we can sort of gently start and a smaller process that we can document, we know how many hours it takes us and what we'd expect a VA to be able to help us with, then this could be really cool. So good discussion, guys.
The next thing on our little list is, let's have a little look. Vertical video strategy. I think Alec's been more active in that than anybody. Or maybe Michelle. Have you done vertical stuff too?
I have done some vertical stuff. I've got like 11 videos like on my phone that I need to go ahead and just dive in and do it. But the more important stuff would be prepping for the weekly show and doing all the things. So yeah, I've got a lot of stuff where I could just say, hey, here are all these videos. Can somebody do something with it?
Yeah. That is an interesting point, though, and because we're all very consistent about generating our content. Like, we're doing our things. We all have our weekly, whether it's a live stream or it's a produced video sometimes, like for Dina, and we're generating our content very, very well. But are we repurposing the stuff that we're actually generating? And we're on this hamster wheel of continually like, hey, I've got another 2 hours of content this week. And then by the time I'm starting to repurpose, oh, it's time for another live show. And so I feel like we all kind of have to get off that train somehow.
And talking about engagement, I mean, I don't know if you meant to tie these together, but I don't know that I'm getting anything out of the vertical video stuff, except just, oh, look at all the numbers I got or didn't get.
I think it's having like a presence on these things so that people are like seeing you. And I think the topic originally came up because we were talking about what is our strategy in terms of where are we putting the vertical video? There's Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, TikTok. Are we just putting exactly the same stuff everywhere? What's the format of it, and how are we treating them? And I think that's where it all came out from. But from me, it's more about having just that presence where you're sort of top of mind for people, even if it might not be bringing in a load of new people necessarily. Although I am seeing that my numbers are they're going up slowly, but they're going up more quickly than they were before I was posting stuff on
which numbers. So, which numbers are you talking about?
Like followers on the platforms, and like I say, it's only a crawl at the moment on Instagram and TikTok and places like that. But it was just stationary before. So,
and you don't know where they're coming from. If you put something on TikTok, you don't know if that translates to a YouTube follower, right?
Oh yeah. So I'm just talking about on those actual platforms, but for sure, there's going to be people who are going to see those and potentially go and check out the podcast or check out the YouTube site. So, and it's also for me about like a lot of the things I'm doing. Although actually, most of the short form videos I've done so far have just been extracts from the like the interview podcast, but I will be putting more stuff on there that's specific to the gear that I'm using really, and then tagging in the relative brands and to raise my awareness in their eyes. So that's the reason for being on LinkedIn as well. But then, tagging the brands whenever something's mentioned, I'm noticing that the brands that I'm talking about are noticing the post because I'm getting likes from them or comments in some cases. So for me, it's that as well, just putting myself so that I'm always in their sites as well.
So the strategy is really about brand awareness, really, just making sure, just spreading your seed everywhere so that they can see it. And then it's like, oh, okay, I remember this guy. And, the more they see you, the more aware they are of your brand and stuff like that. And hopefully you'll get them to, take the next step in lead generation.
For me, it is about driving traffic to YouTube right now. It's, I think my content might not be all that different than yours, but sometimes I think it is. For me, I think right now, Instagram is the right place for me for Reels because it lets me show home place life. And hopefully that will cross over into people clicking into the bio there and going, oh, okay, there's a live stream and she cooks. Let's go check it out. That's where I'm trying to go with it. And I've been mindful about, from my perspective as a consumer of created content, is I look at Instagram as this is where I go to see something pretty. LinkedIn would be a different experience. Facebook, I just try not to go to. So every platform I look at as what do most people do on this platform and how can the home place translate to that? And I haven't made the leap to very many other places. I've put maybe 4 videos up on TikTok, and that was me trying to be a little more me, the
goofy side of me. And those were different than the Instagram stuff.
Yeah.
Videos.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm going to do more of the Dina on camera for TikTok when I start doing that. That's my plan. Instagram, I think, is just more about this place that I live in. Come check it out. And hopefully that's going to start to translate to people coming into YouTube. I don't know yet, though.
Have you ever seen Manuel the Emu on TikTok?
Oh, I love Emmanuel. I love
He
Emmanuel.
reminds me of the way you talk to your dogs. She talks to this emu and he's always getting in her face. You should check that out. I'll find a link to that too and put it in the notes.
She's got emus, extremely aggressive chickens, and like all kinds of those barn animals, and they all have human names. Not today, Brenda. You're not doing this today. And suddenly the chicken's like trying to bite her ankles, and it's
the emu is always knocking her camera over when she's doing set up up against the post. Yeah, so that's why it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
To that point about the sort of different platforms and having a different type of content going out onto each of them. So I kind of wrestled with that as well. And at the moment, I'm basically just sending all of my short form videos to all of the platforms exactly the same. I was changing up the sort of music in the background of them relative to the platform, but I'm actually knocking that on the head now in any case. I'm just going to, because then that involves actually, I'm trying to reduce the sort of workload of going in and doing that. So I am just putting music on them from, Epidemic, and then it's being posted as shorts, TikTok and Instagram Reels and Facebook or whatever as well. But my thought process behind that is that if somebody is following me on all of the platforms, they may well get a little bit sick of seeing exactly the same thing on every single platform. But actually, I find that there isn't a massive overlap between the people who are following me on Instagram and the people who are following me on TikTok. I know you guys all do, but I'm finding there's a load of people who are on Instagram that just aren't on Twitter, TikTok, or the other platforms. So people do seem to have a favorite. And so I see it as I'm putting the same, the same bait in multiple different lakes, if you want, for want of a better analogy, but so that it is still the same stuff. But in addition to that, though, I am sort of adding in some stuff that is specific to that platform. So for example, Instagram, it's got the reels, but it has also got, images and things like that you would traditionally have on Instagram. So there is that thing where there's not exactly the same content going out to multiple platforms, but there is a big overlap. That's the way I'm sort of approaching that.
And I'm interested to see, because you're going to be gathering data for all of us in a lot of ways, because if you're putting all the content and the same content in all those places, you're going to get the feedback as to what truly does hit. Now, we get told a lot of things about how, TikTok's a very different platform and people are looking for different things. But I'm starting to read articles about how people are starting to use TikTok as a search engine the way that they use YouTube. They want to find out how to cook a particular dish. They search for it on TikTok because they want the instructional content, but they just want it shorter. And then they want to find somebody perhaps that they like, and they're vetting a whole bunch of people who can make carne asada, but they will look at 5 different short pieces of content and then go, oh no, Dina's my person. I'm going to go click on there. I'm going to find her YouTube. And now I'm going to find a whole live stream on carne asada. So I think that we can get ourselves caught in a little bit of we're told that everybody's looking for different things, but do we actually have the data on it? And Alec, I'm really glad you're doing this because you're going to have the data for us. Thank you very much.
Well, I just know that I watch an Excel tips TikTok channel that has 1 minute Excel tips. And that is not what you would say, looking at a spreadsheet, there's no guy on, or person on the screen. It's just literally, here's Excel and here's how I'll do this thing. So that is not what you would think of as being this is what everyone wants on TikTok. But I watch it. So there's an audience for everything. And I'm after without having to do a load of extra work to create some new type of content for that platform, because I just don't have the time for it. Is there a way to bring people in with the existing stuff that I've got from those platforms? And
here's another thing. So TikTok is a trigger for me. Not really, but I know that the way that the content is curated, it's designed to bring long periods of a long session time, right? So like if the algorithm will continue to feed you what you're looking for. So let's say, for instance, you see something, it'll continue to feed you what you're looking for. And, that's great from the consumer standpoint. As a creator, right? You go on there and you're very, very specific, going on there, looking for whatever it is that you're looking for, so that you now can create or curate your own version of said content, so that you could create longer session times for people who are looking for what you're wanting. But it's a double-edged sword because you get sucked in, and that's the slippery slope. So, I was like, I'm not going to make anything for TikTok. But then I did a couple of things in there and I was like, okay, that wasn't too bad. But every single freaking time, I open that app. 45 minutes later, I'm like, what happened to my time? I do not have that kind of time.
It opens on the sort of general feed. but like swipe left and then you've got like all the people you actually follow. So you can either just swipe through the feed of everything that they're telling you to watch, or you can say, right, okay, swipe left on the screen and then scroll, and then you're going through all the things that you actually want to watch. So then you don't get the discoverability that way, but you're watching the content that you want to see. But I don't know if most people don't like know that to do that as well, or whether they just get shown like random stuff.
I definitely do that. God. But the other side to that, Michelle, I mean, it's one thing for the consumer experience that you get sucked in for 45 minutes. But I talked about this at POV. Hi, did you know I talked about this at POV? That the problem is that we're getting more discoverability, and the duration of people's engagement with content on those platforms is longer because you get sucked into the vortex. But it's not on your content. It's on everybody's content. So you're fighting the battle against all the different things that are coming up in the algorithm for that person. And that's why deplatforming and being able to deplatform those people is so crucial for people like us, because we're still at that point where we're small enough that we're getting swept away in the stream of all the various things on these discoverable platforms, the recommendation media. So the only thing that I'm concerned about when making short content is, am I giving people in that 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 59 seconds, 3 minutes, something that they want to then chase me on YouTube about and go, oh yeah, this is the stuff. I want to hear a longer conversation on why this isn't a drag on a penalty stroke, for example, or whatever the case might be. So that's the thing I think we need to be considering after we kind of understand what kind of content we want to target at each short platform is, all right, that's fine. Now, how do we get them to the places where we can really build the trust with them? And we do that via live streams and long form content, right?
Right.
What does everybody think of shorts, YouTube shorts? I'm curious, just aside from your own content, when you're scrolling the feed, can you characterize it at all? Do you feel like the algorithm is actually giving you something different, rich, than it's giving me or Alec? Or
No,
are we all
I
getting
see,
the same stuff?
No, I see the stuff I subscribe to. I don't know what you guys are subscribed to, so I don't know what you're seeing.
I see the stuff I'm subscribed to.
Yeah, I don't see anything.
I mean, I see the ones that I've subscribed to, but I see a lot of other stuff too. And
on shorts,
it's not relevant.
If I go to Instagram,
that's what I'm talking about, is shorts.
If I go to Instagram or TikTok,
I'm talking YouTube shorts.
Stuff. Yeah, YouTube shorts, I always see everything. I'm pretty sure I see stuff that I'm interested in, or that I told them I was interested in. I may not be.
It'll show you what you watch. So, like, let's say, for instance, I love drag queens. Okay, so watch 1 or 2 drag queen shorts, and then next thing you know, your feed is full of drag queens. But I do see the things that I subscribe to too. So, like the things I want to see, yes, I do see those. I see their stories first. I see all of those things first. But then, click on one random thing, and then next thing you know.
They say algorithm and it's what you watch and all that stuff. If I go look up how to change a water filter in my refrigerator, my Kenmore 8600 or whatever, I don't all of a sudden start seeing how to change water filters in all kinds of refrigerators, because I guess it's smart enough to know that I don't have all those refrigerators and I don't need to change water filters every day. But
maybe I watch too many drag queens.
Maybe, I don't
You're
know.
just OTT, Michelle. Come on, get it under control.
I mean, people say the algorithm shows you based on your history, and I don't know if that's 100% true, because I don't subscribe to that refrigerator guy or a plumber that fixed the toilet or whatever. So I just don't ever.
Right.
I was just going to say, I find shorts probably is more accurate as an algorithm than I find on Instagram, or if I just leave it to the algorithm on Instagram or TikTok. I mean, I had 3 days last week where I saw almost nothing but cockatiels. And I've got no idea why. I never looked at one, and it's like every time I went into Instagram, it was like there was the first, out of the first 5 reels that it suggested, 4 of them were cockatiels. I was like, where on earth did this come from? So
I think there's something you need to tell us, Alec.
Your kids are grabbing your phone and doing something you're not looking. Maybe that's
no, it's not. It's not that. But
I would say in general that those algorithms respond to how much you cultivate them. So I don't watch a lot of YouTube shorts, and so my feed, I feel like I look at it and I go, "There's a lot of stuff I don't want to see here." I actually use it less. Whereas but I'm aware that I'm doing that. I'm trying to learn TikTok. very quietly, just trying to understand it a little bit more. So I'm trying to cultivate a very specific feed, and I'm paying attention to what I'm listening. And if something comes up that I'm mildly curious about, but I know is going to completely fuck up my algorithm, I'm like, woo, I'm swiping up so fast because I don't want it to get the wrong idea. Okay. Don't get it twisted, TikTok. I wonder how much of our experiences are related to really the investment that we're putting in. And it's weird to talk about our social feeds as an investment, but it is in a way.
It
An
is
investment of time.
It absolutely is. Because if you're going to lose 25 minutes down the rabbit hole in the blink of an eye, it better be a good experience.
Exactly. So that's what.
Damn good
That's why I'm
rabbit
like,
holes.
I don't even want to go there. I just don't.
Well, Dina, what's your opinion on YouTube Short? I mean, you brought it up. That's why I was asking what was on your mind.
No, I was just curious to see if other people were having rando feed in YouTube, and I think Keely hit it. Is our feeds are a product of what we put into them, and I have not been putting a lot into my YouTube feed at all. So not as a creator, but as a consumer.
Yeah.
So I can see now.
Do you peruse YouTube as Silver Lining with that account, or do you have a different account like me?
No, I do it as Silver Lining most of the time, unless I happened to switch over for some reason. But it's
Silver Lining is subscribed to a bunch of stuff and watches stuff. Because my business channel, I don't do hardly anything with, as far as a consumer or a browser or viewer or whatever.
No, I watch a lot as Silver Lining. That is my primary identity.
It's almost like, who was it that said, it was Kurt Nugent who said during Leap into podcasting, which, by the way, if you're listening and you don't know what we're talking about, Ecamm just sponsored a conference on podcasting. And one of the messages I really got from him is like, if you want to be a podcaster, you need to listen to a lot of podcasts. You should be able to respond to the question, what's your favorite podcast? Like this, and have a list of like 5 that you just totally adore for different reasons, because you need to curate your own understanding of what makes a good podcast. Things that you're learning out of that you're going to execute in your own practice. So I think for us, maybe that's a good reminder that, like I said, I want to understand TikTok. So I'm spending some intentional time on TikTok to see what I think I could apply in my 2 brands and what might hit, and not spending that time on Instagram because I'm not sure, where that can go for me with my brands, that sort of thing.
Thanks for hopping on to Our Creators Pod. If you enjoyed it, tell your friends. And if you hated it, tell your friends. You can rate or review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. The Creators Pod is produced by C22 Media. Alec Johnson, Dina Taylor, Keely Dunn, Michelle Lawrence, and me, Rich Graham. Thanks, y'all.